Welcome to Operation Fishing Freedom. I'm Ben Olson. Today it's our honor to be fishing with U.S. Army veteran James Smith.
Duty, honor, sacrifice. Every military veteran has a story to tell. Join pro anglers Jay Garstecki and Ben Olson as they honor the stories of true American heroes on a fishing boat. The mission today is Operation Fishing Freedom. Brought to you by Great Clips.
Marco Island, Florida is home to some of the world's most beautiful beaches and breathtaking sunsets.
James, how you doing?
Good, Ben.
We got a beautiful day. Let's get out on the water and see what the fish are up to.
All right, let's go.
But as any fisherman would tell you, it's also home to some of the most exceptional fishing around. And fishing is something that retired Army vet James Smith is all too familiar with.
Big bait, big fish. Look at that. That's a nice fish. What is it? Oh, a little snook. Beautiful little snook. That's what 10,000 Islands is famous for right there.
You see, James retired to Tampa and spends most of his days out fishing, but not before his career in the armed forces first took him around the world.
So I was 18 when I joined the military. Went to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic infantry. Then airborne school after that.
Green light, go!
Jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, as they say. It was the thrill, you know. Then I went to Fort Campbell with the Pathfinders and a small unit, learned how to do stuff at small teams. And then went to Vicenza, Italy. Spent 3 years there, and it was amazing. You know, over the years, it's taken me to around the world, and then some. And it's I would do it again.
So you knew that from the start. You never considered a more backline job?
Nope, that was it. I had the choice of like almost all the jobs, and a dream come true for a recruiter, you know.
So you said you joined when you were 18. What year was that?
1994.
Okay. So at that time in 1994, did you think you would see action? Did you think you would be deployed? What was the climate then?
It wasn't. It was Cold War. It didn't come until Bosnia. You know, that was the new rotation. You know, Kosovo and Bosnia were going on. We were basically, you know, police at that time. You know, catching all the people coming in and bringing all the weapons to the fighters. You know, they'd sneak them through Macedonia. So it was, for us, it was a peacekeeping mission. So we got there in April of 2001, and we didn't leave until November. So we were there during 9/11. You know, that's when it really hit that, you know, we're probably in the safest place we could be right now, and not in the United States.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by Great Clips, Recon Boats, and by Evinrude Outboards.
We at Operation Fishing Freedom are able to share and preserve these veteran stories thanks to our great sponsors. They rely on our YouTube subscriptions. That's where you come in. Please go to YouTube, search Operation Fishing Freedom, and click that subscribe button.
Operation Fishing Freedom Foundation is also a nonprofit organization. And while we rely heavily on our sponsors, it's the donations from viewers like you that really make a difference. Log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, and click on the donate button.
Your donations are tax deductible and no donations too small.
What's the difference between good and great? Good tries to get it right every time. Great actually does. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you always get exactly the look you want. Great Clips. It's gonna be great. What's the difference between good and great? Good is when your haircut costs less. Great is when it still meets high standards. At Great Clips, you'll always get the haircut you want for less. And with our easy online check-in app, you'll save time too. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Recon. Mother Nature's fury is no match for the new Recon 2185. Setting a new standard for deep V big water fishing, the 2185 features a heavy-duty transom specifically designed to accommodate today's high-powered outboards with ample room for a kicker on either side. The 2185 boasts a superior interior with an incredible cargo capacity and the industry's best rod storage, having the capability of holding up to 21 rods over 10 feet long. The new Recon 2185, built by craftsmen, built for fishermen.
To demonstrate the uncompromising performance of Evinrude, we took to the water. Here's what real boaters had to say.
At Twin 300, it was just incredible. The acceleration, the torque, it was just effortless to drive.
It was smooth, it was powerful, it turned so responsively.
The iDock was really cool to try. I was really impressed with how easy you were able to come into the dock.
Doing the head-to-head fuel consumption, oil consumption, hands down, the E-Tech had it.
Operation Fishing Freedom Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to documenting the lives of our military veterans.
And your donations allow us to provide education and treatment to our veterans.
Log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, and click on the donate button.
Made them angry. We've angered the hornet's nest. Look at him with him. He's got him with him.
During his first deployment in Bosnia, James had to come to terms with his own country being at war.
It's hard to balance that, you know. You have your mission in this foreign country that you're doing, but you know that your home country has been attacked. You know, our brothers in other brigades were deploying to Afghanistan, and we were stuck here.
So you knew, though, despite being focused, that it was going to be go time eventually for you.
Yeah. It was sooner or later, our unit would deploy. Unfortunately, I got selected to be a drill sergeant and totally diverted everything that I wanted to do and gave me a new mission of training new soldiers to go into harm's way once they leave us. So I met my wife Maria in 2001 on New Year's Day. I asked her to move to Oklahoma with me after I completed drill sergeant school. And on a whim, she decided, yes, all right, let's start this. A year later, we had our daughter, Abigail. You know, I was there for her birth, but I had to go back to work. They sent us to Mosul, Iraq, up in the northern part. Yeah, first couple of months in Iraq, we were hit hard with IEDs, mortars. We lost you know, one individual to a RPG. We lost a truck full of friends to a underground IED. You know, you build a bond that you can't explain. And even if they, you know, some were not in my company, but I felt it. We had Nicholas Brown. He went back for the birth of his child, and it was awesome that he had that opportunity. Nick came back. His platoon needed to go out on a patrol, and they needed Brown with them because he was one of their drivers, the key drivers. We said, hey, you know, if you can handle it, you can go. This was 10 days after his son was born. So they parked the truck on an IED. And once they got close enough to this individual, they blew that IED.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by Great Clips, Yance Valor Foundation, and by St. Croix Rods.
They're beautiful fish and they just fight like demons, but people don't. What's that? What's that? There's more? Right over there? Okay, we'll try that. Yeah, good. If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes footage and bonus content,
follow us on social media and please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
What's the difference between good and great? Good treats you like a customer. Great treats you like a friend. From saving your haircut details and clip notes to saving you time with online check-in, Great Clips makes your life easier, just like a great friend should. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. What's the difference between good and great? Good tries to get it right every time. Great actually does. With clip notes, we save your haircut details so you always get exactly the look you want. Great Clips, it's gonna be great.
Nobody wants to run out of power when they're on the water. There is a better way. Introducing the Charge Marine Power Management Station from PowerPole that does the work of 3 devices: a traditional battery charger, a charge on the run, and an emergency start system. PowerPole Charge.
Recon. Mother Nature's fury is no match for the new Recon 2185. Setting a new standard for deep V big water fishing, the 2185 features a heavy-duty transom specifically designed to accommodate today's high-powered outboards with ample room for a kicker on either side. The 2185 boasts a superior interior with an incredible cargo capacity and the industry's best rod storage, having the capability of holding up to 21 rods over 10 feet long. The new Recon 2185, built by craftsmen, built for fishermen.
To demonstrate the uncompromising performance of Evinrude, we took to the water. Here's what real boaters had to say.
That Twin 300, it was just incredible. The acceleration, the torque, it was just effortless to drive.
It was smooth, it was powerful, it turned so responsively.
The iDock was really cool to try. I was really impressed with how easy you were able to come into the dock.
Doing the head-to-head fuel consumption, oil consumption, hands down, the E-Tech had it.
Our military has sacrificed for our freedom. It's up to us to enjoy it. So get out there and enjoy the open water, the freedom of nature, the freedom to fish, and of course, the freedom to celebrate. We at TH Marine want to say thank you. As a family-owned business, we take pride in serving our veterans from transom to trolling motor since 1975.
If you're a U.S. military veteran living in Illinois, Wisconsin, or Minnesota,
log on to takeeventfishing.org to find an event near you.
Produced in association with the Yance Valor Foundation.
Celebrating his son's birth, Nick Brown, too, had to get back to work.
the IED went off between Brown and the gunner. Brown got hit. Webb got hit, and both of his legs were taken. Itcherby was in the back, and he fractured his ankle from it. You know, the IED kind of hit the weakest spot in the Humvee. You know, the underarm. They got Brown, put him into another vehicle, and started racing back to the fob. 500 meters from the entrance to the fob, Brown didn't make it. And this is 10 days after his birth of his son. I was really close with Brown. He was a good kid. And I truly mean a kid, you know, he's just starting a family. The good thing is I'm really good friends with Sarah, his wife. And Nick, I've watched Nick grow for, wow, 11 years now.
That's his son.
Yeah. He's getting big, just like his dad, looks just like his dad. The next night, we actually got intel on a Humvee that we lost 4 people in. Again, I was up in the air. So for 15 minutes, we're flying around and we're tracking these guys through thermal. And they finally get to a location where they stop. And the brigade commander got on the radio and said, you have authority to go ahead and do an airstrike. And I told the pilots my initials, and they confirmed we lased it. 2 OH-58s came in, guns and missiles blazing. And you know, I've been in at that time by 12 years, worked with helicopters a lot. That was the first time I've ever heard a helicopter pilot, after the first pass, say, you know, Winchester, and that's the code word that you're out of ammo. You know, normally you hear bingo because they're out of fuel. No, I heard Winchester, and it was like, that's a lot of rounds. I hate to say it was awesome to see, but it was a win for us.
Still grieving the loss of his close friend, James did what any other Army soldier would do. He kept pushing, this time to his new deployment in Afghanistan.
There was a group of kids that were across the bridge that were kind of getting rambunctious. From the age of 7 to 14, there was about 30 of them. So as we moved these kids back, we're pushing them back away from my vehicle, away from us. And we, got them to a place, and we turned around. And I noticed something was coming over my shoulder. And it landed a couple feet in front of me. I thought it was a rock. You know, a split second later, you see it was a pineapple grenade. Kudos to that kid, you know, it was a good shot. And he threw it right where he's supposed to. And it went off. And I felt the leg getting hit. And as I'm coming up to see what the damage is around me, I see a kid that was climbing up the side of the MRAP vehicle that we had. And as he's getting up there, I see he has a grenade in his hand. And you know, at first it was just, okay, neutralize him. Hopefully the grenade won't go in. But he was able to slam it into the turret. You know, me and my medic, we were going, and we went to it. I say, drop the ramp. They dropped the ramp. And I'm looking, there's Jones it's like, it's hard to believe what I just see. And Jones is like, huh? But his elbow, that's the only thing. And so I told my medic to start fixing him up. And this whole time, I'm walking around bleeding. The 2nd platoon of medics finally just came up to me. He's like, Sergeant Smith, you need to let me bandage you, or I'm gonna give you a morphine shot and you'll be out of it. We get the medevac bird in, and there was 9 of us. Well, we have litter, so they can only take 8. And I was directing everyone. I was like, go, you know. Doc did a good job. He stopped the bleeding, so, you know, I was good. The pilot looks over and sees me. And he tells his door gunner to get out. And they made me get on that bird. We got to Salerno, and that's when it truly, hit you, of what happened. They did x-rays, and he looked at me, he's like, you're very lucky. I'm like, why? I'm not bleeding. He's like, this one right here is right next to the jugular. You were like this close. So I'm doped up on Toradol. They give me a phone, hey, what's your wife's number? She already knew something was up because of Facebook and stuff. And the only words I can get out of my mouth is, I got hit, I'm okay, I'll call you later, bye.
The Wounded Warriors Ability Ranch seeks to inspire and motivate veterans to get out and be active by providing various recreational activities in a safe and relaxing environment.
What's the difference between good and great? Good is when your haircut costs less. Great is when it still meets high standards. At Great Clips, you'll always get the haircut you want for less. And with our easy online check-in app, you'll save time too. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. What's the difference between good and great? Good treats you like a customer. Great treats you like a friend. From saving your haircut details and clip notes to saving you time with online check-in, Great Clips makes your life easier, just like a great friend should. Great Clips, it's gonna be great.
If you're a U.S. military veteran looking for the fishing experience of a lifetime,
Nice fish.
join me, Jay Garstecki, and the Operation Fishing Freedom team as we travel to Temple Bay Lodge on beautiful Eagle Lake in Ontario, Canada.
Oh, monstrous one.
The dates are September 5th through the 12th, 2020. If you'd like more information, log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, and click on the Take Me to Canada button.
J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling.
It's a national junk removal company that franchises exclusively to vets.
The Jeep turned into a Hummer, the Hummer turned into a Wrap, the Wrap turned into a dog. Before you know it, I'm going to the VA hospital and I'm hiring veterans. And I'm like, man, this feels really good.
It's respect, integrity, and trust. And when you have a veteran that you know their work ethic, you know what they've been trained to do, you put them in our system, it's a perfect match. So the goal for us is get the unemployment rate under 1% for veterans. We're on our way.
Our military has sacrificed for our freedom. It's up to us to enjoy it. So get out there and enjoy the open water, the freedom of nature, the freedom to fish, and of course, the freedom to celebrate. We at TH Marine want to say thank you. As a family-owned business, we take pride in serving our veterans from transom to trolling motor since 1975.
If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you saw in one of our episodes,
or nominate a veteran to be featured on a future episode,
log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by SKB Cases, Power Pole, and by Temple Bay Lodge.
Got him? Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Just beat on you. Look at that rod to the corks. Just rod bending, just solid muscle. Got that big giant motor on the back of them.
This is what it's all about, this size jack. Since I've gotten out of the military in 2015, I have been involved in many groups to include Wounded Warrior Project, Wounded Warriors Ability Ranch, Reeling Freedom, Heroes on the Water is one of the bigger ones. Getting out and working with vets. You could say it's the old NCO in me, that helping people. You learn on the fly how to do things, and I did. I got into some dark times, and for 6 months it was rough. It was rough to transition. Finding your purpose is the hardest part, where you belong in this society. I have my own hobby that I've been able to immerse myself into, the woodworking, and that's my way of doing my therapy. I make crosses now. It's called the Warrior's Cross, and one side's smooth and the other side is rough. The one side is smooth, and that's what we want everybody to see, is there's nothing wrong with us. But it's the backside that is rough in texture, and that kind of goes with the demons that we all deal with. But the biggest thing I do is the AVAS color guard. I get to represent my history and show the pride. But the thing I have to say is, without my support that I have from my wife and my daughter and my son, I'm thankful for my family, because I couldn't do most of the stuff I do without them.
You mentioned Mr. Nick Brown, and you mentioned some of the losses and how tough that was, but hearing your story, I think it's pretty clear that because of you, there's a lot of guys who got to go home to their families like you did, and your service means so much to us, and you coming out here, sharing your story, encouraging other veterans to get involved is gonna help too. And just a small token of our appreciation, we have a little gift for you. So we have your very own custom St. Croix rod with your name on it, the branches of service here, the POW MIA flag, and our logo, of course.
Awesome.
We have that for you, and we also have, to welcome you to our team, your very own James Smith Operation Fishing Freedom jersey.
Oh, I'll wear this all the time now fishing.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being a part of this, and for all your service, and thank
awesome.
your family too. We appreciate what they've done and sharing you with us here to fish a couple days.
Definitely awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you saw in one of our episodes,
or nominate a veteran to be featured on a future episode,
log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com.